Okay, so I'm doing this video series called Darci's Corner, and I'm talking about what it's like to be trans, and what it was like being trans in the 80s and 90s, and why I didn't come out then because I didn't know who to come out to. Plus, I didn't even know what it meant, right? And my last, well, one of the videos I did just recently, I talked about transness being slippery, and for some of us, it really is. Now, some of us is not. For some people, they know from the time that they are 3 or 4 that Johnny is a Susie or Susie is a Johnny, and there's no doubt in their mind, and like that's it for them, right? And so if you try and put him in pants, or you try and put her, so if you try to put her in pants, or if you try to take him out of his dress, right? Like there's gonna be stuff to pay, because children oftentimes have this innate sense of who they are. I'll give you a real quick example. I have a little cousin, and her name's Gracie, and one year her grandma bought her a bunch of tools. Like, obviously she's just above the toddler age, so for like a 4-year-old, it was pretend tools, like a tool belt and a drill and some stuff and whatever, and it was meant to be cute because her dad's a contractor, and so that way she could pretend to go to work with dad, kind of thing, was what grandma was thinking. And it was meant to be cute, and some little girls like to have power tools and belts and that sort of thing, and you can be feminine and like those things. But Gracie is a girly girl, and those were her exact words. I'm a girly girl. I don't do that stuff. And she was just upset beyond measure that her grandmother would even think of misgendering her in that way. And, I mean, we look at it and we laugh and we chuckle, because grandma was just being cute. Nobody was making her, not be a girly girl. But at the age of 3 or 4, she knew, right? Well, many trans children know at the age of 3 or 4 that they are what they are. So even though his name is Jake, he knows he's really a Sarah, right? Even though her name is Daisy, she knows she's really a Bob. And some of them really do know. I don't know why that is. I knew at 4 that I was a girl sometimes, because I would see things that I wanted, that I liked, and I was told those were just for girls, but I still wanted them. So I'm like, well, in my mind, I'm a girl sometimes, because I know I want that thing, whatever that is. It's neon, it's flashy, it's whatever. I want that. And if only girls can have that, that's fine. I'm a girl today. I want that. That was how I knew. I knew I wanted that thing, and that thing was for girls. But I wanted it. Well, that meant I was a girl. What's wrong with that? What's wrong with being a girl? Right? Now, so we move forward in life, and so I got these gender non-conforming thoughts, and then eventually I picked one. I picked being a boy because it was easier, and I didn't see how I could be both. And so I guess I didn't really have a choice, but I picked being a boy, which was fine. But the thing is, you can't just turn your transness off. It doesn't work that way. I've since described it, and I've thought about it as being like my imaginary friend. Right? Because in my mind, sometimes I was still her, and I still wanted to do the things she wanted. And I couldn't make her go away ever. Not really. But the way I would indulge her as I got older is I would read books. And the character would often be, the protagonist would be a chick of some sort, dealing with something. And I read books like The Sleepover Friends, and there was another, I don't remember the titles of all the books I read when I was a kid, but The Sleepover Friends is one of the series I read. I read Babysitter's Club, but I didn't like that one as much. But the sleepover friends I like pretty good. And then later when I got to high school, I came across this book called Clan of the Cave Bear. The central protagonist is a chick. And eventually there's a lot of sex in that book, in the series. There's sex in the book, first book too, but that's mostly rape. That's terrible. But later on, it becomes kind of like a romance series, and you get a lot of sex from her perspective. And there's some from his too. But the point is that my transness would come out through these books. That's how I lived my alter ego side when I was in high school, in elementary school. It's through the books. Because I still wanted those things. I would still think about those things. I would think, man, why can't makeup be for guys? Why can't guys wear dresses? Girls can wear pants. Why can't guys wear dresses? I used to think, what would it be like to carry a baby? Probably because my girlfriend got pregnant and Junior came out that year. But I thought, man, what would it be like to do that? With technology the way it is today, I wonder if they could make that happen. I would be willing to do that. Now I'm 40 years old, and if I did that, it'd probably kill me. In practice, it'd probably kill whoever the first actual biological male to carry a baby. Like, sooner or later, someone will do it. That person will probably die from the process. But anyway, I used to think about stuff like that. I used to have thoughts in my mind when I was 15 or 16. I would think, man, we're going to move out to Edmonton. And I'm going to dress up. I lived in Prince George, which is a long ways from Edmonton. So I'm going to move a long way away from where I'm at now to the big city. Prince George is kind of like a small, medium-sized city where I don't know anybody. And I'm going to dress up like a chick. And I'm just going to walk around the mall and nobody's going to know the difference. Now, I never did that. But I thought about it. I wanted to do it. And what I didn't know at the time is if you have those thoughts, if you're thinking, man, sometimes I'd like to dress up as whatever the opposite is of what you were born at birth, okay? So if you're assigned male at birth and you want to dress up as her, or if you're assigned female at birth and you want to dress up as him, and you get those thoughts from time to time, I got news for you. You're transgender. You don't have to act on it. Nobody's going to make you. You decide what you're going to do with it, but just know you're transgender, and that's okay. There's a spectrum of transgender, by the way. And you fall somewhere in that category if those thoughts are in your head. But nobody told me that at the time. No one explained that to me. All I knew was you were gay or you weren't. I knew that you wanted to be a chick or you didn't. And let's face it, being a young man is fun. Sex is great. You know. Masturbation's a good time. None of that shit interests me today. None of it. Not really. You know why? I'm on hormones that have killed my testosterone, and my sex drive no longer exists. But it existed back then, and there were definitely parts of being male that I enjoyed. So I didn't really want to give up being a guy exactly. It's just sometimes I would get this urge. I would think it would be a thrill to doll myself up, which I never, ever, ever did because I didn't know how to do it, and I would have looked like a man in lipstick, which is pretty much what I look like today when I try and do it. But today when I do it, at least it looks like I have a little bit of a clue as to what I'm doing, and it wouldn't have looked like that back then, man. It would have looked terrible. Anyway, I never did it, never tried to do it. Didn't tell anybody because it's crazy, and why is this thought in my head when I'm 16 and then 17? And I was actually a fairly responsible young man, all things considered, like responsibles in quotations, young man. Well, yeah. Because like I'm 17, right? And I'm moving out with my girlfriend and our baby, and we're trying to look after things. And I'm trying to like figure out how to pay bills and do homework and and read bedtime stories and sing songs and things. And I love doing those things, actually. I didn't mind reading bedtime stories. I didn't mind spending time with my daughter. I like that. But that took all my focus. So at no point, like, when was I supposed to tell somebody? Occasionally I got gender alternative thoughts in my head. And who was I supposed to tell? Like, who would I have told? My wife or wife-to-be at the time? Like, maybe, I guess. I don't know. She probably would have been for it. But I just didn't know who to tell. Why would I tell anybody that then? So life carries on. We move away. Life gets hard. And the relationship ends. And it doesn't really end well for me. I end up being homeless, wandering the streets of Edmonton. And eventually I got my life back on track, kind of. I rented a basement room, and then I met another girl, and eventually I married that girl. So I didn't take a whole lot of me time to figure things out. But then I also didn't know I had anything to figure out. Had I taken more me time, like, what would I... It did not occur to me at that time to wear a dress or to be her. I did know I was pansexual at that point because I had had relations with other, same-sex relations and whatever, and my partner at the time was aware of it. I wasn't cheating. But still, I'd had those experiences, so I knew that I floated in between. I wasn't exactly straight, but I didn't think of myself as gay either, because the term pansexual didn't exist at the time. So I didn't know what to do with that. But I kind of thought, well, I guess you better pick one. And since, not being gay was better for my family and made life easier, and the Bible said don't do it and stuff, I went with, a woman, and I kept being the straight male that I kind of was, suppressing the trans side the whole time, not even knowing that I was trans and suppressing it. And again, who was I supposed to tell? How was I supposed to figure this out? So eventually, there was a couple girls in there actually that I dated, but the one that I ended up marrying, I dated shortly after I broke up from my first wife. And I've been with her for 20 years now. We haven't been married for 20 years, but I've been with her for 20 years. So, I mean, I don't know if I made a good choice or a bad choice. But at no point in time, like, who was I supposed to tell? How was I supposed to know what those thoughts in my head meant, right? Life carries on, and we find religion, and religion eventually prompted us to get married or whatever. And but religion is it's a Christian religion, and so gay is out, trans is out, anything that's not cis, hetero, hanky panky, pretty much just for making kids. Anything that's not that is out. So I know all these thoughts are counter to that teaching, right? And I'm trying to follow those teachings because I'm trying to be a good person. I'm not putting religion down. It has its place, and spirituality is wonderful, and I think I've grown a lot as a person and become better because of my religion. But it definitely put a hold on my transgender knowledge and ability to explore that.